Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. This is Eugene Delgaudio, President of Public Advocate. I'm talking today about Senator Tommy Tuberville, Coach Tuberville of Alabama. Could we just take a moment to remember Jimmy Stewart in the movie Mr. Smith Goes to Washington? In that movie, Jimmy Stewart takes to the floor of the Senate. It's about him being a senator and standing for principle and fighting corruption. Jimmy Stewart does a filibuster, does this for the entire, a good portion of the movie is his speech fighting corruption and standing up for the little guy, standing against people who would use their position for profit and not compromising and essentially making the case that it's a lost cause, but he is going to fight that lost cause because it's right, because he loves his neighbor, he loves his country. And he learned it from a senior senator there. And he decided he was going to appeal to the Senate. And at one point, he just faints dead away. And boom, we go right to the confession by the liberals. Well, I'm looking for a confession from the liberals. But Senator Tommy Tuberville is right. Let's discuss that for a moment. He's sticking to a hold. Senator Tuberville, a real-life Jimmy Stewart, is standing to his guns for the last 7 months. 7 months, he put a hold on military promotions. There's over 300 military promotions. He's taking a stand against a policy that allows taxpayer money being used for abortion. He's taking a stand against a policy that embraces wokeism. You have trans, gender freaks who are, being promoted. You have them embracing drag queens and dressing up as drag queens. There's public relations videos coming out. What policies allow this? He's asking, why do we have to rubber stamp some of these nominees who are not really military? They are simply theatrical productions for the woke agenda. He says, I'm going to keep my hold until I find out what actually is the legal side of these things. Where is the law that allows you to forget about the rules passed by the Senate? Now, the Biden administration started this whole thing right after the Roe versus Wade decision by the Supreme Court. President Biden announced through any possible means he's going to promote abortion. He's going to promote the woke agenda. And even if these means are outside the law, his administration's going to simply go and do it. And you got to catch up with him. He ignores the Supreme Court. He ignores the law. And so Senator Tuberville is standing there putting a hold on these nominations until he actually is explained where is it in their administrative rules that allows them to do this. What law are you citing? What is it that you're claiming here when you're passing these policies to fund abortion, when you're providing transportation for abortions, when you have woke generals wearing lipstick and, basically corrupting the entire purpose of the military as a woke agenda? Biden administration's using administrative rules and policy changes to advance their agenda, but it's not legal. So one man, Senator Tuberville, is taking a stand, and he's, according to the Associated Press, Senator Tommy Tuberville is waging an unprecedented campaign to try to change Pentagon abortion policy by holding up hundreds of military nominations. No, he's not trying to change Pentagon abortion policy. He's just simply upholding the law and trying to get the Department of Defense or the White House to say, okay, here's where our policy is spelled out. Here's how we feel we're legally, they won't even give him a copy of the regulation that gives him the rationale. And that's what he's holding for 7 months. And they say, oh, we're not going to bend to him. And by the way, the Senate at any time can come in and bring these names one by one, but they won't do that because that would be caving in to Senator Tuberville, because they just want to push it through without objection That's what this fight is about. This fight is not about approving these nominations. This fight is about what's legal in our country, what's legal in the Senate, what's legal in the administration, what's legal in federal law, and frankly, that they just want it rubber stamped all at once, 10 at a time, 20 at a time. You just say yes to what they want. Yes is the only answer they want. And who would join the crowd, the mob, out to lynch Coach Tuberville? He's called coach because he was college football's 2004 Coach of the Year and two-time SEC Coach of the Year. So he's recognized as a coach by me and by everybody in the country. And he's inspired by his father to enter public office because his father was a highly decorated World War II veteran and a Purple Heart recipient. And that motivates him to give back to our country as a U.S. Senator. So like Jimmy Stewart, Senator Tuberville is taking a stand against the likes of Lindsey Graham. Oh my goodness. And Mitt Romney, rhinos like Joni Ernst of Iowa, Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, Mitt Romney of Utah, Dan Sullivan of Alaska, Todd Young of Indiana. And they took to the floor to try to break Senator Tuberville. They called him all sorts of names. And Tuberville would not crack. Like Jimmy Stewart, he's taken a stand. He says the words, I object. I object. And whenever he uses that word, I object, they go crazy. Lindsey Graham picks up his dress and runs off. Picks up his skirt and, he's afraid. Oh my goodness, you can't use that word, that language, I object. Well, they are going to try to undermine him over and over again. But we can't let these senators plot. You have to call them out. Call your senator and tell them, leave Coach Tuberville alone. Answer the question. What is the Department of Defense doing? What is it? How is this legal to disobey federal law prohibiting the use of federal funds for abortion? How is this legal to use the Department of Defense as a propaganda vehicle for the gay agenda, for the transgender agenda, for drag queens? What is wrong with the Department of Defense? There's a lot wrong with it, but you're not allowed to use it as a propaganda for drag queens. Really? What is it, drag queen hour over at the Joint Chiefs of Staff? What is this? We can't allow this, and that's what we are fighting. We're fighting this. And Senator Tuberville is alone using his power to object, and we must support him. You must call your U.S. Senator and tell them very emphatically, leave Tuberville alone. Thank you.